Nick Barber here with your Tech Snap. Google I/O, the company's developers conference, kicked off Wednesday in San Francisco. In its opening keynote, the company touched on car technology, wearables, and a new mobile OS. Joining me from San Francisco is IDG News Service senior correspondent Martin Williams. Martin, what was the biggest announcement from this morning?
Probably the biggest announcement and the thing that a lot of people were waiting for today was to hear more about Google's wearables strategy. And we did get that this morning. The company announced 3 new smartwatches running Android Wear, which is a new customized version of the Android operating system, especially for wearable devices. We got something called the LG G, the Samsung Galaxy Gear Live. Both those watches have square faces and they're going to be available today on the Android Play Store for reservations and for purchase. And then a rather good looking watch coming from Motorola later this year called the 360. It's not available today, it'll be coming later in the summer according to Google, but it looks quite interesting. One of the things with Android Wear is it doesn't try to cram all of the information that's on your cell phone onto the small screen on your wristwatch. Part of the customization is that it just gives you the highlights of what you need to know. It'll be interesting to see how consumers take these new devices when they finally hit the shelves.
And so Android is going on people's wrists, and I hear it's also going in cars with Android Auto. Now, do you need to have a specific car, or will it work with any of them?
First of all, the Android Auto is going to be the operating system used in the in-car entertainment systems. Google showed a demonstration of it today. You can plug in an Android phone, the big screen on the car, the entertainment system will detect that, and then will allow you to control applications in the phone through the entertainment system, and especially because you're driving through voice commands. So part of the demonstration today was running the music application and also Google Maps. Google has a consortium of car makers and in-car entertainment system manufacturers that are getting around the operating system, but it's important to note at the moment that being in the consortium doesn't mean that any of these companies are actually going to come out with gear. So while they've got about 40 companies in their consortium, all we heard today is that the first car should be coming out later this year. We didn't get any confirmation though of exactly what those cars were and whether the Android Auto would be part of the basic entertainment system or whether it would be something that costs car buyers more money to put in their cars.
And Google, it seems like they crammed a lot of stuff into this keynote. A few weeks ago, we heard that Apple announced its next mobile operating system. Now Google is following suit. What are some of the new features of what's being called Android L right now?
Yeah, they certainly did get a lot in the keynote. It lasted some 2.5 hours, which I'm sure is a record for the company. And I know if you're following Twitter, you'll see a lot of people complaining about the length of it. But yeah, one of the big announcements that we also had today was Android L. If you're paying attention, you'll know that Google names its Android operating systems with consecutive letters of the alphabet. So we just had Kit Kat, so it's on to L. Don't know if L is the final name or if there's something else coming, but they're talking about Android L at the moment. Some of the advances in the operating system, for example, new security systems. Right now, if you have an Android phone and you have a PIN code set on it, every time you pick up that phone, you have to enter your PIN code. Coming in the new operating system, you'll be able to set up trusted areas that the phone will detect by things like the presence of Wi-Fi signals. So, for example, if you trust everybody in your house and you don't think you need a PIN code in your house, then the phone won't ask you for a PIN code as long as it's in reception of your home wireless network. So that's one of the things coming. There's also new app notifications. While you're playing games, if it judges something high priority, it might put a notification above the game, which it doesn't do at the moment. And a new sort of interface, something that Google's calling Material. It's a little bit of a visual gimmick, a little bit of a visual trick, but it adds a shadow to some of the buttons on the operating system, so it appears that to give the phone screen just a little bit of depth there. We also heard from Google some updates on the progress of Android. Already by far the most successful mobile operating system out on the market at the moment. IDC numbers said it was in 78% of phones in the 4th quarter of last year, and Google said today that amongst active users, this is people that use Android at least once a month, there are now 1 billion of us.
Wow. And a couple of weeks ago at Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, they announced that next mobile operating system. Now Google announcing the next mobile operating system. Google I/O aiming specifically at developers. How is it sort of equipping its developers to take on Apple and other competitors?
Yeah, Google today, in a lot of their announcements, the announcements today really are targeted at those developers, as you say, because that's important. You know, if they don't get the developers on board, if they don't get the software written, then all of this stuff they're putting out there is going to be useless. And today, on all of these systems, we had Google announcing things called SDKs, software development kits. These are basically sets of commands that allow people to write applications to interface with all this new stuff. And Google releasing today or in the next few days SDKs for a lot of stuff. So definitely it's an intensification of the battle between Google's Android and Apple in the smartphone market, and now increasingly in wearables, in cars, in the home.
All right, so a lot to look forward to still from Google. Martin Williams in San Francisco, thanks for joining us.